underestimate the length of time that it would take, the complexity of RF, and what certification looks like.
I would double up on the certification part of it for sure. Since it comes along at the end, I think a lot of times it gets almost a second thought, when in fact that's not the case, and something that should be really tended to early in the design process.
I believe it's a very solid system design review at the beginning of a project to establish the baseline on what the product requirements document looks like. The way we structure and execute that is a mutual process with the customer and the partner.
We have, when we develop products, what we call a phase 0 or a system design phase that involves scoping out the effort from a product's requirement and a functional specification perspective. And it's during that phase is when we get our certification experts involved, so that we try to mitigate as much as possible any surprises later on in the design process. We do what we call pre-certification, which either involves testing in our own in-house laboratory with our own equipment, or we can take that out to labs, partner labs that we have, and work through them to make sure that once we get to the real certification, where the larger amounts of money are on the line, that we don't get any surprises.
Begin with the end in mind. By having that vision, you can structure a very solid statement of work that maps out all the various hours and requirements across electrical, mechanical, RF, whatever discipline is required to make that product do what you're intending for it to do. And then last but not least is passing certification the first time through.
At the beginning of the design phase is being cognizant of what the requirements are, what specific needs there are, design, product, regions it's going into. I think it's the entire process, being able to see the end from the beginning and knowing what pitfalls can commonly happen and commonly be encountered along the way, and how to avoid those, and having the disciplined, phased approach to the design of the product and the device to ensure that that all the right steps are taken, that nothing gets too far off very quickly from customer intent, to make sure that no small mistakes in the beginning compound themselves later, because things that are noticed early in the design process are normally quick and relatively inexpensive to fix, but once they happen later, they can be very problematic to the overall process and experience, particularly from the client and the customer's perspective. That's really, I think, what separates successful versus non-successful ones. And I think that's something with all our really decades of experience that we have in-house allows us to perform and deliver to our customers.
Well, we have decades of experience. We have a complete turnkey solution when it comes to IoT product development. We can take you from design into pipelining supply chain parts due to our relationships under the XTG umbrella and TTI. We have test and certification. We get into prototyping, manufacturing. We even touch on failure analysis, and we can help you tremendously with BOM analysis and trying to understand what types of parts you're putting onto a board.
Advantages that we have really are we're able to engage with our partner companies, distribution firms that are inside our organization, inside XTG. We're able to engage with them early in the process to work out part pricing, understand what availability and lead time look on products, to be able to design those in, to be able to move into manufacturing with those, and be able to work back through those at the time of build to ensure that those products are there and have confidence that what we designed in early is going to be available later